According to empiricism, perfection is not possible. By the methods of empiricism, regardless how many times we test a claim or see an event take place, there remains a possibility of the most improbable of things happening. The question is, has science committed an error? If not, what does empiricism seek? What are we, as humans, aiming for, if perfection is beyond us? What motivates us to keep trying harder and harder, regardless of how many times we fall short? Athletes strive to better themselves. They strive towards perfection, but regardless of the goal and its achievement, athletes continue to strive to do better. But if improvement is always possible, then perfection is impossible. Or is it? No matter how fast man runs, the mile cannot be ran in 0 minutes. To run implies an activity, and an activity cannot happen outside of time. If a mile could be traversed in 0 time, the mile would not exist, because it exists due to the fact time is consumed in traversing it. If we know the sun rises because we observe it, then we know that the morning exists because the sun rises. We know tomorrow morning will come as the sun rises. But this knowledge comes only because as the sun rises, tomorrow begins. It does not matter how many times this happens, we know tomorrow can only begin if the sun rises, and for this to happen, it must happen. It cannot happen a week from now, it can only happen when it happens. And so there is never certainty that tomorrow will come, and the sun will rise. The same is true for every observation. The observed event is only true when observed. We can be as positive and as certain as we wish that tomorrow will be as all of the previous yesterdays, but knowledge only comes with observation. There is no reason to suppose the experiment will not produce the same results as every other time it was performed, but we do not have certainty until the experiment is performed and we see the result. We cannot have total faith in the future. Our own experience is not enough to give us certainty. This is why we have developed the idea of scientific investigation. The vital part of an experiment does not consist in a scientist isolating the event being studied, to a degree that we can be certain that if A then B. The vital part is others confirming the observation. The crucial feature of science is the act of confirmation. In this sense, science is the church and the church is science. Science is about building up our faith because we socialize what would otherwise remain an individual experience. Perfection does not come through individual achievement or a private experience. Perfection is a social event. The individual is never perfect because perfection is not given to us. We were never designed to equal or replace God, which perfection suggests. But we were not designed to be complete. We were made in the image of God, and God is 3 in 1. God is a social construct in that he only becomes real in and as a relationship. Believing in God is not an intellectual activity, it is a relational activity. Few have looked at what a relationship entails, regardless of whether this is a relationship with God or with other humans. A relationship is only as deep as the communication. It ought to be obvious that without a way to communicate, a relationship is impossible. Even touching is a way to communicate. To see the other person, or to hear, touch, smell, or taste is a form of communication. The senses are about communication. Therefore, to have a relationship is to have a means by which those who are in the relationship communicate. God communicates with us, in and through the church. That is, God forms a relationship with the church. God had a specific relationship with various prophets of the Jews, but his primary relationship was with his people, the Israelites. Through Jesus a new relationship was established. The kernel of this relationship was established in a human-like way, as a man forming a bond of fellowship with others of his kind. But after the death of Jesus, the bond was formed with the church. It is as the church that we have a relationship with God. There is no perfection in the law. Before Christ gave us his church, God connected to man through his law. But mankind cannot follow the law, and the law is never perfect. It merely indicates sin. The law does not give us a way out of sin. This is the odd thing about law. We cannot follow the law, and if we could, there is not enough law written to make us perfect, and if there was enough law written or if enough law could be written in enough detail and with sufficient nuance, it would be far too complex and voluminous to be followed. Even if we found a way around the problem of the insufficiency of law, if there was a way to write sufficient laws and even if they could be followed, those who followed them would be nothing more than legalists. Following the law is not possible in an absolute sense, and even when we try, it only makes us soulless automatons. This poses a problem for the nations because all the nations rely on law to maintain order. It also poses a problem for religions, because all religions rely on works to create a sense of legitimacy in their followers. Law is the universal panacea in this world. If there is a problem in a society, we write a law to alleviate it. Yet, nothing is ever solved by the law, and the probability is, things become worse. If we forego the law or eliminate it from consideration, what else is there? Every politics and every religion resorts to law when it comes to governance. The power of a ruler is defined by who is under his law. The alternative is the market. Logically, there is no alternative to these two pathways. There is either a power imbalance, in which one person is over the other, ruling by law, or there is equality. Law in this context is simply an opinion that is enforceable. The lawmaker has an opinion which is stated as a regulation that, because of his power, can and is enforced. If the one cannot rule the other, then there must be mutual exchange. Some call this the free market, but the free market can only exist in a flat organization. Free markets do not exist in either capitalism or communism. Neither private enterprise nor public ownership has a free market. Both the right and left systems involve the state. The state is a free rider. The presence of any free rider precludes the possibility of a true free market. The free market and parasitism are mutually exclusive. Thus the simple truth is that we need to get rid of parasitism, to have a free market. Once we have a free market, we all begin to pay our own way. If this is no fraud or dishonesty, we no longer need the state, its regulatory apparatus, or even the police, at least not for internal experiences. The thing we must appreciate is that we cannot be perfected individually. We do not become the bride of Christ, individually. The Church is the bride of Christ. When we are reborn as the bride of Christ, not as a sovereign individual. When we died to a life separate from God. Alienated from God, we were also alienated from the people of God. The same is true when we separate from this world. When we die to sin, we separate from the world of sin. We are reborn into a new life, but also, into a new world. This is a life and world without parasitism. This is the true meaning of conservatism. Conservatives build the church and combat parasites. The principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness are all parasitic forces. We are perfected as we forego parasitic practices. In economics, this elimination of parasites is a free market. When we all work and pay our own way, we have a free market, we have eliminated parasites, and we have the form of a church. It is at this point that we are perfected, not as individuals, but as a people under God. It is as the church that we become perfected.